Welcome back to our next lecture on strings, part 3. So we ended our last lecture by sort of introducing, very briefly, a preview of something called the string function, which casts or changes the data type from like an integer to a string so that we could print them in messages. I just want to give a little clarification on that here. So let's start by defining a variable. I'm going to define a variable lyric, and I'm a big Pearl Jam fan, so I'm drinking my coffee out of a mug that's got a lyric on it, and that lyric is sometimes is seen a strange spot in the sky. And this is nice because there are lots of letter S's here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to count the number of S's that occur in this string. We saw before that the capital S here and the lowercase s is going to give us an issue. So I'm going to standardize this lyric by updating the value of lyric. And I'll say lyric is equal to lyric.lower. And now I'm going to say scount, our new variable, is equal to lyric.count. We'll call the count method, and we'll pass an argument of the character s. So that should count the number of s's for us. So let's see. Let's print scount just to make sure that this is working the way that we expect it to. And it says we get 7 s's. So let's see. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I miss one? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, I missed the is. So now, what we previously did is we printed a message using concatenation, right? There's another way that we could do this, though. We can put multiple values to print separated by commas. So I could print a string here, our lyric has, and now I can put a comma, and I can say scount. And then I can put another comma and say, so our lyric has, in our case, scount is 7, and then we'll say s's in it, period. And close that. And so this should work just fine. And if we look here, it says our lyric has 7 s's in it. And that is wonderful. We don't get that error, that type error, right, where it says you can't concatenate into a string. And this is because I think Python, Mozilla crashed. That's fine. Let's just quit that. This is because I think Python is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us in converting our data types. While this is convenient, I'm not sure as like an instructor I necessarily like it because it takes the responsibility of managing and thinking about your data types away from the student. And so if we look here, our original way of doing it, our lyric has, using concatenation, if I just type scount, and then I concatenate again, s's in it, period, this gave us our error, right? And it's because we weren't thinking about our data type. And so we can change our data type here from an integer to a string. And we'll discuss how to do this a little bit more in depth later on. And so this forces us to be aware of the types of data that we're working with. I really like that. So I may go back and forth using both of these methods, but I think I'm going to primarily focus on the method used on line 11, just to focus in on the importance of being aware of the data types that you're working with. One of the things I want to note here too is if you notice in line 11, when I print my last string, I have to put a space here to space out that message, right? If I don't do that, if I get rid of that space and I run this, we see that our print messages, our lyrics have 7's, s's in it, right? It looks kind of bad. So we have to format that with the space. But I did not have to do it here on line 9. And the reason why is let's just call my print function again. The print function has an optional argument called the sep argument, or the separator argument. Its default value is a space. And so that says that when you put multiple values in here separated by a comma, it's going to, by default, separate them with a space. And so we saw that we could override our default behavior. So for instance, if I copy this and paste this here, so there's our 3 values. And now I'm going to call the separator argument, and I'm going to override its default behavior. Instead of printing a space, maybe I'm going to print, I don't know, a smiley face. That sounds like it could be kind of fun, right? And so now when I run this, by overriding our default behavior. Instead of printing a space, it says our lyric has smiley face 7 smiley face s's in it. Just to show you that there are other optional arguments that we can use with that print function. All right, I think this wraps up our understanding of strings. We'll see you in the next lesson.